Hey, Hoophead YouTubers, it is your buddy Choppadong. I am going to dive in and do probably two things today in prep for Freebie Friday so that you know the process when we open things up tomorrow and convince you without a doubt that you need to be a member of DFSArmy.com. I'm going to run through both the DraftKings and Fanduel player pools today in this video, see how long it takes us to do it. You're going to do it as I do it. I will be writing my names down along with us. We'll check the three core areas. It's going to take longer on DraftKings, so we'll do that first. And then we'll wrap up with FanDuel because it shouldn't take very long. I want to see the difference in the names that pop on both sheets, and I want to see where we might go in the process. So hopefully you've been following me. Hopefully you like and subscribe to the video, and you guys have been digging in and obviously winning money based on it. DraftKings has been pretty strong lately. We cashed without Harden last night. Now, maybe you ran Harden. You did the smart thing. I honestly felt that Embiid might be more valuable to the slate based on a little bit of the savings, and didn't see Harden hitting that kind of a ceiling last night. Figure if they both hit 60, 65. I know Harden can go for 80. I was like, as long as he doesn't go for over that, then we're probably good to go. Embiid probably becomes the linchpin to the slate, especially stacked with Simmons. I cashed anyway, 44th out of 220, 230 people or so. So nothing like really spectacular, but definitely well in the top half. So it worked. I just felt like a total chump for knowing the situation with Harden, and that's the first time since what, the last, say, 10 games or so I've gone away from him. Anyway, let's dive in. As always, DFSArmy.com, one-stop shop for all things DFS. PGA kicks off today. NHL's on All-Star break. NBA's rocking and rolling. We're starting to talk a little bit about baseball. I've got a new NBA writer for you today or tomorrow for Freebie Friday. You're going to see the Dirty Dozen, which is going to be an incredible column, data-driven, 12 key picks for the slate, given the full slate's a little bit smaller on smaller slates. And maybe once in a while he'll throw in the Baker's Dozen for you. So be on the lookout for that article tomorrow. Freebie Friday will open up the tools for you. And of course, use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to trigger that 20% off when you decide to inevitably become a member, join the winning team, see the hats on the leaderboards, and get in here and start winning with us. From MMA to PGA, it doesn't matter. We've got you covered. Sorted by and one already, and the first thing I'm going to do is go turn it off everybody but my point guards by, again, holding the control key down. Where are my point guards? Have I only got literally 2 point guard spots on here? You'd think I'd know that by now. Top 5 are Westbrook, Curry, Lillard. I'll go one more since Lillard is on the queue list. Schroeder, and then Booker. Then, of course, I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to start going for value and then hot and not in a minute. But we're going to kick over to, hopefully, the shooting guards here. And if DS can, or RS here, DS Domination Station Optimizer, RS Research Station Stats Tool. You'll hear me get those acronyms mixed up on occasion. Curry, Drew, Beal, Schroeder, Clay, and then I'll stop it there at 5. Bigger slates, I don't need a much bigger player pool than 5 guys. I just don't. It's going to kick me in with the value. Now, yesterday was a little bit scary with it being so wide open. I wouldn't have played the slate if it wasn't for my coaching challenge inside the coaching forums, where I'm telling anybody, challenge me for free so that we don't get 1,000 of these things going, and take me on every single day. We will discuss your bankroll with you. We will discuss contest selection with you. We will discuss lineup construction with you. I mentioned to people I thought Embiid might be more valuable than Harden on the slate due to price. I don't mind sticking my neck out there. And I promise you this, I'm not the best NBA DFS player in the world, but I ain't no fish. And as far as it goes with fundamentally constructing lineups, I can teach anybody how to get better. It's kind of like being your first golf pro. I can teach you how to break 100, maybe get you down into the upper 80s or so. But if you want to start playing scratch golf, you're going to need somebody better than me. Lucky for you, we've got them inside DFS Army all the time, 24/7, talking basketball, any sport that you want to talk. PGA was great this week with the discussion that went on in there. PG-13, KD, Wiggins, Ingram, Porter. Those are your small forwards. You can't leave out the power forward only eligible guys, right? Oh, come on, give me a little love there, blue tab. There's the old PG-13 again, KD again, Boogie. Interesting. Minutes are starting to come up. I think that a lot of people are really itching to play some boogie. I know that's not rocket science saying that, is it? But for those that are unaware, man, people have been laying for him all year long. And yeah, I write boogie on my list because I know who it is. So now, Adams. Interesting that Randall's on the power forward list, not on the center list. So your power forwards were PG-13, KD, Boogie, Draymond, Randall. Your centers, Karl Anthony Towns, Nurkic, Boogie, Draymond, and who? Steven Adams. Is that right? All right. So now we're going to kick these tabs back off. We're going to come over here and we're going to sort by value. Hopefully this video doesn't take forever going through these player lists. I'm drawing lines underneath my list. I've got, remember, this isn't the only thing I do. I don't just write these top 5. Now I'm going to go into the value and I'm going to write these top 5. I'm going to pay attention to the minutes, but I'm watching this column right here. And when I go back and just do the same thing over again, as soon as it gets caught up on me there, hopefully you don't hear my mouse clicking too hard in the background. I see Schroeder up here on the value list, right? So I put a V next to his name on that top list. Booker, V. Westbrook, V. Boy, this is different than yesterday. Lillard, V. Peyton, that's new. So I will write Peyton's name down. Curry, V. Very, very, very intriguing. And Drew Holiday almost makes that list. Okay, so now we're going to look at these little salaries here. We're going to see we've got some variance in here from 5,400 to Peyton, 4,800 to Schroeder. So you've got the ability to kind of play with your guards a little bit today. Okay, does that make sense? Let's scroll over here while we're in this category and let's play the hot or not game. When I see, what, 3 down in here, where are some of the bigger ones? 8.3 for Jared Bayless. That's a very interesting one. I'd be watching news for him maybe, but generally speaking, I'm going to be focused on Lillard as hot, so that if he's not truly questionable with some kind of an injury or gets upgraded to probable, I might throw him in as a core play. Next would be these two guys down here, Stevenson and McCollum. I would add them to the list. Then I'm going to come back up here for Booker and put an H next to him. Probably circle him as a core play. This is going to be where you're going to need to evaluate, and that's probably about it. You need to evaluate where these guys are going to be strongest, at point guard or shooting guard with their multi-position eligibility. And in a lot of cases, you can let an optimizer sort that out for you. You know, because you can put one in a point guard, one in a shooting guard, and then run one down there in your guard or utility and be just fine. The algorithms and the optimizers really help you mix and match that scenario very, very well. So there's Schroeder again on the old V list. Interesting, he was 5th on the list, point guard, 4th on the list, shooting guard. Wiggins was on the small forward and 1 list, but on the shooting guard value list. That's pretty intriguing. Didn't make the top 5 matchup ratings for the and 1. Granted, we're looking at value now, my bad. Didn't make it for and 1 on that previous list, but is making it on the value list. There's Booker again, of course. So on the value list only, that's interesting as well. Huh. It's different every slate. That's the beauty of it. And there's Okogie. You got to watch the minutes if he's getting the minutes. I bet you the optimizers like him tonight. Then we'll come down here and there's Curry. Top shooting guard on the list too. Interesting play. So there's your top 5. We come down here, we start looking. There's Bradley Beal. He's hot. I'll put an H next to his name. Come down here. There's Bayless again. Nothing too fancy. I'm just kind of looking for what's next. What's next in line? CJ, Stevenson again. Probably don't even need to list them because they're already on that point guard list. So they're going to be in my player pool. and then Booker again. So if Booker, no, Booker did not quite make the core list on this one either. So he's kind of on the outside. He made the core list as a point guard, so he'll be used in the guard slot or whatever. Probably won't be used in shooting guard. Probably a better role. If you use Booker and then flip-flop, say like a Steph Curry or something like that, it's not bad. But I think you're going to want Lillard in his point guard only eligibility, if I remember right. Yeah, being that he's not on this list. All right, we'll let the small forwards kick in. And when we're looking at the value again, we've got Wiggins up there. That's interesting. Darius Miller. That one you're going to want to follow the news on because it may be a turd trap. Otto Porter. There's a Kogi again. Another interesting one. Josh Jackson. What are we down? One more here to Paul George. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of down into the 6, but Paul George is possibly a value. I might go ahead and include him on that list just because I peeked early and saw it. 9 points for Porter. Definitely hot. There's your 5th and 1. Your 5th on the and 1 list. He's up there in the value list, 3rd. And then he's also probably the hottest small forward at the slate right now. Offered on the slate. So definitely Otto Porter, probably a core play tonight. Down here to Ariza. If you want to play a hot hand in some kind of a GPP scenario. Kuzma. Is that right? Interesting there. Not bringing value, obviously priced up. His 3-game value has been great. I'm wondering if this includes the zeros for the couple of games that he sat out. Maybe that's why that's hurting that. So again, I would dig into his matchup. These are things that are going to be flaws in every system. And the idea is to get in here and dig into the numbers a little bit and determine where the numbers might be misleading and where they might be leading you in the correct direction. What, 5 for George, 5 for Kevin Durant. So go ahead and call those guys hot. That would put Paul George probably as a core play at small forward or at your forward spot. Then I'll recap the core plays for you here in just a little bit when we get done. So of course, Cousins is going to be a value because he's way underpriced, being that he's missed most of the games this year. Darius Miller again. So it's good to write them down anyway on your list, Porter, so that you can see who's where and where is who. That way you can start slotting guys around if you're going to hand build. Some of you guys like to hand build with 1, 2, 3 lineups. Paul George is power forward as well. He's obviously going to be a core play there too. So when we slide over now and we look at, there's Paul George, Ariza again. So you can see the overlap here. Kuzma again, Paul George, Durant, and Draymond even. So put a little hot next to Draymond, but he's not a value price. So a lot of these guys, again, are going to be very, very similar in the player pools that we're selecting them in. With the multi-position eligibility, it gets hard to then determine where you're actually going to use them. That's where these optimizers do so well on a site like DraftKings. So now looking over at the center, there's Okafor. Boogie again, of course. Karl Anthony Towns. Now see, when Karl Anthony Towns registers and Randall, when Karl Anthony Towns is expensive and registers as a value and registers maybe as hot, he's going to be somebody that I'm going to probably key on. Big men against LA. But he's going to be somebody I probably key on because not only am I, unless I have to get big price point guards, I'm probably going to pay up for Karl Anthony Towns because I want to lock in those points. If I can get Karl Anthony Towns and maybe Paul George or somebody in a lineup, I'm going to like that combination a lot. Now I'm going to need value elsewhere. And we didn't really see it necessarily at point guard. Maybe we'll see it at shooting guard. And then, of course, if you're going to build some kind of a tournament construction, you might want to fade a Karl Anthony Towns and then you're going to pay up where the Karl Anthony Towns people were paying down. You'll take a mid value or maybe a deeper value play at center, and then bang, you're right off into the higher priced point guards and stuff, or small forwards or whatever, and it sort of flips your construction on its head and makes it unique. You can still take chalky quality players, but if the majority of the ownership ends up being on a Towns or somebody, then by not using him and then going somewhere else, you're going to be the only one with, say, a combo of Lillard and Curry, because the Towns people couldn't afford that. So Lillard and Curry can be chalky individually, but they won't be chalky together, if that makes sense. And that's what's going to separate your lineup and make it unique. And that's just probably the safest way to get deeper into the tournament money, even with highly owned players. So now that we've sort of seen it, we need what? We need the hot 11 for Okafor. Definitely worth consideration. Probably going to be popular. So he's going to be paying down or paying up. Boogie's probably going to be popular too. Nurkic is hot. Draymond Green, but I'll bet Nurkic is pretty much forgotten tonight. Draymond Green running hot. Is that Zubac running hot? It's going to be really, really interesting to see how this stuff pans out. I don't see Adams, Boogie, or Cat on the hot list. So that's going to be something, maybe there isn't a super, super strong core play out there right now. But that's roughly your core. Your core players were Lillard, Booker, outside shot at Booker anyway, Paul George, Otto Porter, and that's about it. So you got 3 or 4 core plays, and they're very, very strong. They hit the matchup list, they hit the value list for the projection for today, and they're running hot. So really and truly, how many other deep stats do you need to dig into to really split hairs? You start with those 4 guys, and then spend the rest of your time digging in to the other guys. Now I'm going to run down here, kick on the FanDuel side, and we're just going to do this again, and we're going to see how this pans out. See who ends up, if any of the core plays shift due to pricing, or how this one ends up working out. So I'm going to sort by and 1. And what are we, 17 minutes in? So we're going to run long today, so I apologize for that. But hopefully you're getting something out of this and you're seeing a good use of the tools. I can filter these things down by 20 minutes or more if I want, 30 minutes or more, whatever I want to do. Westbrook, Curry, Lillard. And then look at the drop-off, because there's no positional eligibility. I mean, just bang. It drops way off. And then you've got to pick up Rose and Peyton to actually fill out the top of your point guard list. There's Drew, Clay, Beal, Schroeder, CJ McCollum. There's your top 5 there. There's Devin Booker on the outside looking in. Hopefully we pick him up on the value page. Small forward, KD, PG, Ingram, Porter, Turner. Now Turner's going to be a little bit more of a value play. Otto Porter is priced up a little bit. He's still priced down. Well, he's priced up. He's priced down a little bit. This pink means he's priced down a little bit more over on DraftKings, where he was actually one of our core plays. He may still be a core play here too, so I'm kind of interested to see how it works out. But I'm already looking at maybe if I'm going to get a little bit different lineups on both different sites, then I'm probably going to run Porter over on DraftKings and not on FanDuel. There's Dre, Randall, Kuzma, Taj. Welcome to the group. And Aminu. These 3 guys are way priced down on FanDuel, creating value for them. The interesting part outside of Kuzma, these 2 were not even in our DraftKings player pool. So there's Cat again, Boogie, Nurk, Adams, and one that always appears on the list, Looney, pray for a blowout, right? Lower matchup rating, of course, because he's not going to get the minutes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He won't be on our value list. But these 4 guys are pretty strong. So if you want, you pay down, grab Boogie Cousins, or maybe you come down here to Steven Adams, or maybe go all the way up to Cat. When we're looking at the value list, 5 is pretty good on the value list anyway. So if I click that off, I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter or not out there at Chopadong, but there was a really neat statistic shared in our coaching forums today by Trey. said that that during this run Harden's on, he has not had the ball passed to him once in his 200 some odd points. He basically nobody else registered an assist. You know, maybe they threw the ball to him and he dribbled around for 3 seconds and then put it in. But nobody has registered an assist on any of Harden's points. That's a sick and twisted number, man. I find stuff like that fascinating. If you ever see stats like that, man, tweet them at me. I love that stuff. All right, value rating. Let's sort by the value, which we've got. There's Peyton, Westbrook, Curry, and Lillard. Look at that. Same 4 guys. Peyton, Westbrook, Lillard, Westbrook, Curry. Derrick Rose even comes in there 5th. God, imagine that. So if we run over here and check the hot list, see if we find our core players. Lillard's hot. Core point guard. The others, interesting that Westbrook's fallen off the pace a little bit. Peyton's fallen off the pace a little bit. Curry might be interesting with his 70-point upside and is not really running too cold yet. Down there's Bayless, but I'm not putting an H next to any of these other guys. So that would make Lillard my core play, but I need to follow the news on him and make sure that he's playing, make sure he's getting normal run of minutes, make sure he's not hurt, make sure he gets upgraded maybe to probable, something along those lines. Look at the depth of value at shooting guard tonight. Our matchups are going to be down here, these guys up here with poor matchups like Okogie and KCP. KCP's new to the list, he was not on the other list. There's Wiggins. And there's Schroeder. Wiggins is up and down. I'm not a big fan. And there's Booker. So now our list is 9 shooting guards, right? When we combine the value and the and 1. And Schroeder's the only value. So is Schroeder running hot right now? Oops, I need to go back to shooting guard. And Schroeder's not really running all that hot. So he's not going to be a core play. McCollum, is that McCollum? No, Beal and McCollum are running fairly hot. Beal, McCollum, Booker. Beal, McCollum, and Booker. Jeez. So Beal is an H, McCollum, and then Booker. So Booker's on the value list, low on the value list, and also on the hot list. So there's 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Beal is on the matchup list and hot, but he's not a value. Schroeder is a value, but he's not hot. And CJ McCollum is hot and not a value again. So you've got a couple of double dips. Those would be your stronger plays. Somebody like a Drew Holiday, who's only on the and 1 list. He's not a value, and he's not running hot right now. And can he pop off? Sure. But he's not as strong a play as some of those other guys that bring something else to the table. You want a poker reference? Here's a real easy poker reference for you. Let me do it after I do the small forwards here. Miller, of course, pops in there. I'm going to make you a poker player if you aren't one. There's Porter. Value for Porter. Value for Paul George. Value for Ingram. Love it. Check the hot list. And of course, we're going to see the same numbers here. Stevenson may be a little bit hot, but Porter and George for sure. And Ariza. Porter, George, and Ariza. Porter and George. There's your core small forwards. You might devalue anyone else, being that you can't bury them in another position like you can over at DraftKings. Now, the poker analogy is really, really simple. When I've got these 3 categories here with and 1, value, and hot or not, I'm basically looking at my starting hole cards in Texas Hold'em. You know, you get 2 cards face down, right? And I'm looking for whether, when I'm assessing the strength of my hand, I'm looking for those 3 categories. I've got 3 categories anyway. I'm looking for strength of, high card strength, making top pair and top kicker, I'm looking for connectedness. Can I make straights? Like 6-7 is more connected than King 10 because King 10 has gaps in it. But King 10 obviously has better high card strength than 6-7. And then I'm looking for suitedness. Are they suited? And if I've got those 3 categories in my hand, Ace King suited makes great top pair hand, makes, is connected, if it's suited, it's a very, very strong hand. Nobody denies that. 6-7 suited, great. Connectedness and suited. Not great for high card strength though. Something like Ace 9, not connected, but if Ace 9 is suited, it's got decent top card strength. So you've got these two out of, you're kind of looking for these parameters. 1 out of 3, 6, 7 offsuit, not a great hand. Ace King, or not Ace King, but Ace 8 offsuit, not a great hand. It doesn't have that second category. That'd be like on the and one list only, be your top card, your high card strength, right? Your aces, your kings, your queens, whatever. King Jack. Got a little bit of connected with it. So let's take King Jack and say it's not the greatest hand in the world, but it's better than, say, an Ace 6 offsuit. Because it's got two high cards with it, it's got some connectivity to it. That would be like hitting your and one list and then hitting your value list or your hot or not list. So you got 2 out of 3, that ain't bad. But when you've got all three, and one, value, and the hot list, you've typically got ace king suited, king queen suited, ace queen suited. You've got very, very strong hands. Queen jack suited. You've got great top card strength. You've got great connectedness. You've got great suitedness. You really and truly have a whole bunch of flops in Hold'em that can hit you square in the face and deliver a very, very strong spot where you can maintain your aggression and be have very, very solid chances of winning. See the parallel? I've got the and one, I've got the value, and I've got the hot or not. I've got very, very strong chances of somebody on all three lists winning the night. Is it going to always happen? No. My ace king suited gets screwed sometimes too. But it's got a better shot than anybody else. So it's a hand that I'm always going to be playing. It's a hand I'm always going to be putting on without very, very specific reason. Now, if I've got ace king suited and I've got, $1,000 in my stack and somebody raises $5 and somebody else raises it to 20 and somebody else raises it to 75 and somebody else raises it to 300 and then some other guy shoves all in for $10,000 and it hadn't even come to me yet, and it's $10,000 to go all in and take my entire stack, my entire $1,000 stack, go 5 ways with it. Now I've got a debate on my hands. Ace king suited is a great multi-way hand. Can win a lot of those, but I've got a lot of evidence with a raise, another raise, another raise, another raise, another raise, that somebody's probably got 2 kings or 2 aces or something along those lines, and my ace king is not doing so well. I may only be playing for the flush card part of it, because my top pair may be just toast. However, you can debate the math all you want and start splitting hairs over whether or not you should jump into that pot or not, and that's what makes poker players great. This is the same thing with basketball or with DFS, in that you've got these 3 categories. When you check all 3 boxes, you're very, very strong, but you still might not play that hand. I opted not to play James Harden last night. That's like folding my ace king. I did it for a very specific reason, though, and a very game theory specific reason last night, and felt justified in doing so. Happened to work out for me. It shouldn't have, the way Harden had a night. It shouldn't have. But guess what? Folding ace king in poker is not going to be very profitable for you either long term. It may in a very specific scenario. That's again what makes DFS players good or great, is knowing how to split those hairs, knowing when to split those hairs and put the value in the correct place. One way to do it is the and one, the value, and the hot or not. Hopefully that was worth the price of admission today, because that would make a lot of sense to me if I was sitting in your shoes right now. All right, let's wrap this up with the and one, with the power forward. Value-wise, Josh Jackson. Draymond gets the V. Randall gets the V. Oh, Jeremy Grant pops in for a visit. And Aminu gets the V. Run over here and check the hot and not. Pick up that suitedness on that ace king. And I've got Draymond, who's hot. And then I've got Kuzma, who didn't make the list. Well, he made it in the and one, so he's hot. And then Draymond, who's hot. On FanDuel, Draymond is a core play. On DraftKings, he maybe is not. He's a strong play on DraftKings, but he's priced up. So if I come back over here, I should see that Draymond Green is more, priced down a little bit. It's kind of green, so he's priced down a little bit on FanDuel compared to DraftKings, and that apparently is making all of the difference in the world. Makes him a core play versus just a strong play over on DraftKings. See how that's working out for you? See how we're using these 3 categories together? And again, is this going to work all the time? No. I got a list of 20, 30 players, and 3 or 4 of them are going to shit the bed. It's just going to happen. Okafor, Boogie, value, apparently. Karl Anthony Towns, value on Fanduel. Steven Adams, value on Fanduel. Ayton is next. He's questionable. Nurkic would be next. So I may or may not skip over Ayton. 4.7, I can skip him. Run over here to the hot or not, and there's Okafor. Again, Okafor is on the value list and the hot list, not necessarily the matchup list. So Okafor is like your 9-10 suited. Okay on the high card strength, not really good connectedness, really good suitedness, can make a lot of winning hands, but still needs things to kind of go right. Still needs things to kind of break his way for it to be really, really a good night. There's Zubac on the hot list, but he's a one card only guy. Zubac is like ace-5 offsuit or ace-6 offsuit. Easy to parallel this stuff with, but again, no core plays in the center spot. Very, very easy to parallel this stuff with poker. Hopefully you guys understood that. Hopefully you got something out of it. Your core plays on FanDuel, Lillard, Porter, and Paul George, Draymond Green. So again, 4 guys. My list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Roughly 37 players on FanDuel. And I don't know on DraftKings because of the multi-position eligibility. But you're going to go into the domination station next. You're going to call up, uncheck all those boxes, check all of the boxes of players that made your list. And if you want to add a couple guys, you read some coaches' notes. And like last night, Terry Rozier was not on our list. Hopefully, we all knew that when Kyrie was out, Rozier's an auto plug and play. Hopefully, we made that adjustment. Okay, that wasn't something we mentioned in the videos yesterday, but hopefully we knew to make that adjustment. And we went in and listened to our coaches when they pointed that out or whatever and said, oh crap, yeah, why wasn't he on the matchup list? Why wasn't he on the value list? Why wasn't he there? Well, he wasn't, but he had a great night anyway. And we know that that's just one of the little rules of DFS NBA is when Kyrie sits, you throw Rozier in there. Now, that said, there are going to be situations like that that could pop up tonight. So you may add a name or two to this list. You may find a couple of guys you do your research and you don't like, cross them off. That's fine. You may not want a 35 player pool on FanDuel. You may want 25. That's fine. Do what you got to do. It's your list. I'm just showing you how to cut the fluff out of a couple of 100 players, how to cut it down to the best 30 or 35 you should be considering. Some of these guys are going to have great nights. Some of these guys are going to have horrible nights. If you got 2 of them in your lineup and they have horrible nights, I'm sorry, you're sunk. Doesn't mean they weren't in a good spot. Doesn't mean they weren't a great play. It just means they didn't perform. And that can happen night after night after night after night after night for a long stretch of time. That's called variance. That happens. It makes it very, very hard to determine whether or not you are a winning player or are not a winning player. But if you've got the large enough bankroll to withstand that type of a run, that type of a bad run, it will come back for you because you're playing the top 30 players on the slate. If you can pick 2 or 3 duds, you can pick 2 or 3 studs just as easily. It's just a little bit of the short-term luck. That's like having that, those aces, and I'm going up against some other guy with 8-4 offsuit, and that son of a bitch flops 2 pair on me, and I'm completely screwed. It does happen. And it can happen in an inordinate amount of times. I went through a stretch of cards one time, played like 200 some hands, had aces 6 times in that 200. You're supposed to get them once every 220 hands. I got them 6 times in 200 hands. I'll never forget the run I went on. They got cracked 5 times out of 6, and the 6th time they didn't pay. I was livid. But you know what that meant? That just meant that down the road, I was either paying the price for an abnormally hot run the previous year, or I paid the price up front for what was going to be a hot run coming because everything's going to balance out. And that's what your bankroll is for. You can't let those getting cracked with your aces 5 times out of 6 times. You can't let that bust your bankroll and lead to redepositsville because it's going to frustrate you. It's going to frustrate your wife or your girlfriend. The point is, have a bankroll large enough to withstand those runs. Understand there are going to be those runs and continue playing the best cards possible. And 1, value, hot or not. Those are your 3 priorities when it comes to this NBA DFS stuff. Those are your 3 priorities, just like the poker cards with the high card, the suitedness, and the connectedness. You get 2 out of 3, you've got a great play. You get 3 out of 3, you've got an absolutely phenomenal play. You should play it. Good runs and bad runs will happen within that. You got to have the bankroll to ride it out. Hopefully those tips are good and they work for you. Hopefully I'm helping making you a little bit more knowledgeable player. And honestly, hopefully you want to take your game to the next level, come inside and get the coaching that's going to go even further than this. That's what the link's in the comment section for, dfsarmy.com. I'm your buddy Chop It On. Use the coupon code CHOP for that 20% off discount. Tomorrow's Freebie Friday. I'll open this sheet up to you guys. You guys will get the tool. We will probably have a members only DraftKings tournament again for swag. So you're going to need to jump in and be a member today if you want to play in that tournament. It's only $1. It's a good way to get 150 to 200 guys jerking around, joking around, and just talking smack. It's a good camaraderie thing. We're a community. We take care of each other. We love yucking it up. We got guys in the PGA room right now, probably already on tilt before they've even teed off. It's just a fun atmosphere. You learn as you go, and it's just a group of like-minded people that love playing a game that you love to play. If that sounds like you, I need to see you on the inside. DFSarmy.com, coupon code CHOP, CHOP. Hopefully I see you on the inside, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Take care.